Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your hostess, Nick Rakita of Rakita Law, small law firm in central Ukraine. We just got 80 billion. Now, small law firm in central Minnesota. How are you guys doing tonight? Yes, late AF is true. Look, this one's on me. This one's on me because I had this brilliant idea. Both Camelot and Nina reached out to me. They said, we don't have guests. Can you help me? Help me, Lord Master. Please, I will kiss the ring. Just let us into the circle. You are the chief of all YouTube. And I was like, I will, of course, grace your shows. But as both of you have equally asked, I will equally give 1 hour to each. And I went to Nina's show first and then Camelot's show. And I was like, here's my great idea. I'm going to set my show to start at 11:15. That will be a smart move. That way, because I know after Camelot's show, I'm going to need to go upstairs, go to the bathroom, tell Lady Rackets goodnight, grab my Monster Energy drink because I'm addicted to those, come back downstairs, tell my kids, go to sleep. It's after 11. Give them all hugs. And then maybe by then I'll make it back to my office before 11:15, which I did and would have been on time if it weren't for those meddling gremlins at StreamYard that made me put in 11 while I wasn't thinking while setting up the show. So, yeah, there you go. But I was going to be late for the 11 thing, but that was the whole... well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Look, thank you guys for indulging me. Yesterday, I was not streaming because I wasn't home last night. Lady Rackets and I got a very unexpected date night, which was cool. Opportunity to go into the Twin Cities, hang out with some friends, have some drinks, and then because we had an appointment this morning, and it was like, cool. We have to wake up early, drive to the Twin Cities for our appointment, and drive right back, which would suck. But then our nanny's like, hey, actually, my Tuesday night's clear. So if you guys want to head in and like not have to drive in, drive right back out, you can do that. So we're like, thank you. That's awesome. So we did it. And we had a ton of fun. And there's no evidence of this online, except if you follow me on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, I met for like 12 seconds total Sir Richie Hendricks. Sir Richie Hendricks. And I don't know anything about this dude. We're at this barcade, which is a thing because all adults are inherently children, and they're just a slave to what they were a slave to as children, right? That's why your parents all still watch TV while you don't. And I say y'alls and you because I don't watch TV. My parents do, and I'm older than a lot of you, so you know what I'm talking about. Like, you just get set in your ways and branding sticks and psychosclerosis kicks in, and you just do these things that you always do, which is why, like, as my generation that grew up in arcades became adults and arcades started to disappear or just become fucking phone games. Because I don't know if you've been to an arcade recently. They're just Android games, massive. It's like, oh, hop the thing. Super stupid, very stupid, shitty games. But that doesn't matter. You play Angry Birds. You could pay to play Angry Birds. I don't know. Anyway, old arcades are dead. All those old arcade machines, though, are still around being sold at fire sales. So someone's like, you know what? How about one of those, but with beer and whiskey and liquor and stuff? Someone's like, yeah, that's a good idea. And now all these metro areas have these barcades. So we end up at the barcade called it's called Up Down in Uptown Minneapolis. Very clever, guys. And we're sitting there playing Time Crisis 3. And I'm like, well, this isn't real because the targets aren't black people, so I'm not good at it. And I'm sitting there playing it, and this guy comes up and he's like, hey man, I'm Richie. It's like, cool. And he starts like filming an Instagram reel, and I'm like, you got to get me in on this. And then he starts talking, and it's fucking ludicrous. And I have no idea who he is at all. And then he's like going to post it on Instagram. And I'm like, yeah, tag me, brother, because this is funny. And so he does. So I'm going to show you that video later in the show. This is just a teaser. But I later looked him up. Dude is legit. He has an album. It's fire. I haven't listened to all of it. In fact, I listened to 30 seconds of one song, and I know the whole album is fire. So you can, if you want a preview of it, you can follow, you don't have to follow my Instagram. You just go there and watch. It's the only story. I don't even know how to do this shit. But you can check out the little video. It's 20 seconds long. I was dying. But some people are like, don't know why, but I'll follow this guy. Sure. And I'm like, I didn't tell him. Like, I'm not endorsing him. I don't know anything about him. This is just funny to me. But anyway, so that was a blast. That was just one small fraction of the evening that I found particularly delightful. So we'll do that later when we hit What the Fuck Wednesday, because if there's something what the fuck-ish on the internet involving me, it's got to be there. And you got to see Sir Richie Hendricks to understand it. So we'll do that at some point. But we're here to hit some legal serious stories. First, about consenting to searches. A little update on Trump's civil case. There's some weird shits going on in that one. I'm not going to get too in depth about it, but we'll talk a little bit about Trump's civil case because there's some statute of limitations questions and shit going on. And this is a civil fraud case in New York. I think I might have touched on this on some other day. I don't remember if I did or not, or if I was on someone else's show. But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we're going to move into some other news stories that kind of ease us gently into the What the Fuck Wednesday topic. And then, of course, we've got What the Fuck Wednesday submissions from the locals, and we'll hit some of those topics as well. So it'll should be fun. Should be a fun show, a little bit lighthearted. And all that. Too much seriousness going on in the world. There was, another little thing happened on Tuesday, of course, when I'm not going to stream. Speaker Kevin McCarthy was ousted as speaker. They're like, GTFO, loser. Hilarious. Absolutely fucking hilarious that they actually did it. The Republicans manned up and finally kicked out the guy they've been saying is an asshole forever. Instead of just voting him back in, which was what had been happening and always happens, they always do. And they finally just kicked him out. That's funny. And then it got funnier. It got funnier after that, because then the interim speaker calls up Pelosi. He's like, vacate the office, bitch. And she's like, what? And he's like, get out. Get out of your little office. You're going to have to move offices. We're recoding that office. It's going to be for someone else. And that's funny too. That is, finally. If Republicans could just have a sense of humor, they might be effective. Because levity is always the best weapon and medicine. So it was great. The Republicans didn't do it. 8 traitors and all the Democrats voted them out. Well, then I'm giving them credit for something that the Republicans should have done, because it's hilarious. I don't. Speaker McCarthy has not been some titan of speakership that we need to give a bunch of respect to. But that's it. That happened, and that's great. That's fantastic. But there's some other stuff kind of going on behind the scenes that going on behind the scenes stuff I'm working on in private. I'm working on locking down a really, really interesting interview. And by locking down, I mean just scheduling it. We're at this phase of the interview is agreed to, and I think we're gonna have a really fucking interesting conversation. Now we're just going to schedule it sometime soon. The guy's name is Saifullah Khan. And some of you may know the story. If not, Nate the Lawyer did a video on it that's been blowing up massively. So you could go check that out if you want to. But he's a guy who was falsely accused by a woman while he was attending Yale University in 2018. He ended up beating, I'm not, I have to do the background research. This all kind of came to me today. But he ended up beating the charges or the accusations in court. And then Yale decided to hold their own Title IX-ish review of the situation. And even though the woman apparently admitted to lying about the sexual assault entirely, Yale decided to kick him out anyway. So then he's sought permission, which you weirdly have to do, to sue this woman and Yale for defamation, and got it. This is something that's wild. Because these schools have been shielded over and over and over again for running fucking just kangaroo courts. And I'm sorry to all the Australians that offends, but you should put people on the jury. But no, this crazy system where you're allowed to run these trials effectively without really any rules of evidence. I mean, it's just what the school wants to do. And so this guy gets absolutely boned by Yale for not even credibly, like, not for just being accused of boning this chick, which allegedly isn't true. Or, well, I guess he's shown it to not be true. And so I don't know the full story yet. I just heard about this today and got linked up with him. Thanks to Nate the Lawyer, by the way, for making that connection happen. My homie Nate, he hit me up and said, hey, you should talk to this guy. So now we're going to schedule that interview. I think it's going to be phenomenal to see, because he's breaking ground on this type of stuff and going after the people who are trying to punish him when he's proven his innocence. That's the crazy thing, because we were talking about that just the other day with Trevor Bauer. Like, sure, you settled your lawsuits for $0 and whatever. Now you get to say whatever you want, but did you win? And could you win? Even if you had won, would you win? Well, this guy's, I mean, if he can take Yale to the fucking bank, Yale's got money. So that would be a winner for him. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so I've made that connection. We're just trying to figure out what day works best for him for an interview. Stay tuned for that. Other than that, I guess we can go ahead and jump into some of these topics. After a couple chats here, Scott Rauch says Monster Energy drink is gay. You can do better or not, your choice. I think it's supposed to be you can do better or not, your choice. There should be a comma there. If you had a Monster Energy, you'd be on that comma, brother. And your period. Hallucinosis says neighbor who posts about her dogs a bit often, which has already caused concern, posted recently in response to a comment that he can get that, stating he's like a frat boy. Are they having sex? So your neighbor posts about her dog a lot. Posted in response to a comment that he can get that, stating he's like a frat boy. Are they having sex? If she's white, yes. Who knows? That's fucking weird. People talk really weird about their animals, dude. Really weird. Mitchell Arnold says, my first ever super chat, banger. Hey, thank you. Says, if you would please toast my friend's late father. He took his own life a while back, a successful attorney who was born with nothing and never stopped loving his wife and daughters. I can. These are actually really difficult to do. Toasting suicide is a tough one. A lot of people have very strong feelings on it, self included, but, you know, I think I got it down. Okay, to Mitchell Arnold's friend's father, who was a successful attorney, took his own life, but never stopped loving his wife and daughters. And to that we can say, cheers to the man he was, cheers to the man who provided for his family, and a curse upon and a wish for the end of the demons that plague people to the point of ending it all. Please find help. Please support those out there who give you an indication that they're not okay. There's time for things to get better. I won't say they will, but I'll say they can, unless you take away that opportunity. Cheers to who he was. May his memory be honored and filled with good, and the lowest point of his life be forgotten in the wake of his positive influence. So there you go. Thank you for that. Sorry about that situation. That shit sucks. And it is rough to talk about because it's like I said, it's very sensitive for a lot of people. With that, let's delve into these topics. The first story we've got, this is a practical story for all of you out there just driving around with $47,000 of drugs in your car. Now, look, I'm not your attorney. So I can't tell you what to do. I'm not the guy who's supposed to tell you not to drive or not to drive with $47,000 worth of drugs in your car. I'm not your dad, not your mom. I might be your sister for the weekend. You do not, really have the best. You know what? I'm not going to judge. But what I can do, I can't give legal advice on driving around with $47,000 worth of drugs. But what I can do is use you as an example on the instance of if you are driving around with $47,000 worth of heroin, fentanyl, other drugs, and you get a traffic stop, let me tell you what not to do. So, Wood County, Ohio State Highway Patrol troopers seized nearly $47,000 Roth, because nobody spell checks anymore, Roth of heroin, fentanyl, and other drugs during a traffic stop on I-75 in Wood County. OSHP says on August 18th at 4:12 p.m., troopers stopped a Kentucky vehicle on I-75 in Wood County for expired registration. He was not stopped for suspicious driving activities or anything else. Literally just expired registration in a state that he wouldn't have registration for anyway. How'd they find your drugs? Well, we'll get to that. During the stop, troopers detected the odor of raw marijuana coming from the vehicle. Very important that this was raw marijuana. This wasn't baked marijuana. It wasn't braised marijuana. It wasn't souffled marijuana or smoked or steamed. It wasn't pan-seared, grilled, barbecued. It was not dry-aged marijuana. It's just raw marijuana. This is sushi grade raw marijuana. And they smelled the odor, or they detected the odor of raw marijuana. That's a weird way to say that, isn't it? Detected the odor. Okay, so I gotta see. God damn it. Is weed legal in Ohio? I'm guessing no, right? Recreational marijuana is illegal in Ohio, but possession is not always criminal. If you're caught in possession of less than 100 grams, about 3.5 ounces, it is considered a minor misdemeanor, and you can face a $150 fine. Usually, however, a minor misdemeanor won't become part of your criminal record. Okay, so this is something I have talked about in the context of states that quote unquote decriminalize marijuana or anything else. Okay. In my opinion, decriminalization is not an appropriate avenue. And people are like, oh, well, it's decriminalized. It's not a big deal. You can pay a ticket, whatever. Decriminalization does not mean legal. When something is decriminalized, it is merely that the punishment ends up being a civil infraction or such a minor criminal infraction that it doesn't come with any possibility of jail time. And it doesn't come with, further sort of issues for you. And it's usually there's some qualification, a couple grams, whatever. In Minnesota, prior to legalization, I think it was 44.5 grams of 44.5 grams of marijuana flower was quote unquote decriminalized, something like that. And possession of more than that would become a felony, or possession of any compound of marijuana. So like any, waxes, resins, vape stuff, that was all felony level immediately, no matter what the amount was. But flower, people could have a small amount and it was decriminalized. But actually, while it is decriminalized, it is still evidence of criminal activity. So it's not quite decriminalized. And the detection of any of it could be sufficient justification for further investigation. This is the trick. This is the rub, so to say, is that, sure, you have a small amount of marijuana on you. They smell it. If you have this tiny amount, they find it and you're like, well, you're going to get a little ticket. We'll confiscate the marijuana. That's fine. But now maybe you have more, right? Maybe. They don't necessarily have any information about this, but maybe. So it all depends on what you do next. And what happens next is laid out here. Don't do this. So, also, I inherently disbelieve any officer who says they detected an odor of marijuana. Look, maybe they did, but I don't believe them. Ever. Because it's the easiest thing in the world to say. And if they say it and then investigate and don't find any, you will never know. Like, you'll never know that stat. You'll never know how many people they detected an odor of marijuana, further investigated, and found nothing. Because nothing will happen, right? There won't be a ticket. There won't be anything. It'll just, the person will go on with their day. When they detect an odor of marijuana and happen to find something, then you'll hear about it. So you always hear about the successes. You never hear about the failures. They're not tracked. They're not logged. They're not statistically accounted for. Nothing happens with them. Plus, I get that you smell an odor of marijuana. Is it coming from inside the car? Is it coming from outside the car? Is it coming from a marijuana plant that they happen to run over? Is it coming from another car? Is it coming from, depending on if you're in a city, is there a group of urban youths walking around? Because I don't know if you guys have been in a city, but there are certain people that walk by you and you go, God damn. Like it's like that fucking kid in Charlie Brown, like who walks around with the dirt all over the place. It's like that, but it's just weed. So you can't. I have a pretty good nose. May come as a shock to some people, but I have a pretty good nose. I smell shit very well. It's very sensitive. If I walk by a Bath and Body Works store, I want to put a gun in my mouth. I do not like strong smells. I can smell weed all over the place. I can guess where it comes from, but do I have probable cause based on a smell? Depends on the circumstances. Cops always smell marijuana when they want to. So I don't know if they did or didn't. I immediately and inherently disbelieve them every time they say it. Every time. Anyway, so during a consensual pat down, now this is amazing. Troopers found drugs located on the driver and the passenger. Additional drugs were found while troopers performed a probable cause search on the vehicle. Do not ever consent to a pat down or a search. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't ever. Oh, but what? No. Nope. But I didn't have anything. No. Don't do. These motherfuckers have $47,000 worth of drugs in their car, and they have drugs in their pockets or whatever. And they're like, yeah, pat me down, Big Daddy. I got nothing to hide. No, you do. You do have something to hide. You have a lot of stuff to hide, apparently. We're going to read how much in just a second. Do not consent to this. Now, here's why. Here's why. If you consent to a search, they can search. You don't like, I'm gonna pat you down, search you. Is that cool? Yeah, it's fine. You've consented to the search. All right. If they're doing something called like a Terry stop, they do have this ability. They do have this ability to do a pat down search for a weapon for their own safety while the investigation continues. That's a non-consensual pat down search. That non-consensual pat down search, though, is limited to things that are overtly and obviously weapons that can be detected by the hands of the officer through clothing. You know what is not included in that description? Drugs. Drugs are not included in that. If they pat you down and feel like a baggie, that's not a 9mm or a knife or a taser or whatever. That's not those things. And it has to be obvious. Like, it has to be detectable as a weapon through the clothing. They can't just, we're doing an investigative, so a Terry stop or stop and frisk or whatever, an investigative search to further develop probable cause is available when a police officer has reasonable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot. Sorry, reasonably articulable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot. Is because the situation seems weird and they're able to make that investigative pat down a non-intrusive search just for the purposes of making sure their safety is ensured from weapons that a person might be carrying. But they don't have any probable cause to believe that illegal activity is happening at this point. Now, if a cop is smelling an odor of marijuana and using that to justify a Terry stop for further investigation, doing a pat down, they can't go in your pockets. You can't go in your pockets for anything other than an obvious weapon. If you consent, though, they can. They can do that. You've consented to the search. They didn't even have to justify it. They don't even have to articulate why they're doing it. They just have to say, do you want, like, will you let me do this? And they're like, yeah. Touch me. Speaking of touching me, welcome to the Camelot raid. Thank you to all the Camelot viewers. Also, big shout out to one of my favorite people, Lead Attorney in the chat. Dude is hilarious. And guys, if you're not watching Lead Attorney on YouTube, I don't know what you're doing with your life. If you're not watching Camelot on YouTube, I know what you're doing with your life, and it's right. Stay on course. The beef is back. But yeah, guys, big shout out to them. Thank you so much for being here, of course. But yeah, do not consent to the search. It doesn't benefit you. Not consenting to the search doesn't make you more guilty. It doesn't mean that they get to look harder when they get like their reasoning. They get the same shit. They just have to justify it. You just might be able to argue against it. But the moment you consent, you're done. Game over. They could just do it. They can just do it. Here we go. So, during a consensual pat down, troopers found drugs located on the driver and the passenger. Additional drugs were found while troopers performed a probable cause search of the vehicle. Do you know how they got probable cause? By finding drugs on the driver and the passenger during their consensual pat down. They didn't have it before. They just, there might be weed here. Can we touch you? Yeah, I'm good. So they developed probable cause by finding illegal drugs. Good job. According to Ohio State Highway Patrol, in total, troopers seized 332 grams of heroin. I'm not Asian, but that's a lot of grams. That's a lot of grams. I don't know how much grams of heroin is. Like, I don't know heroin dosing at all. But 332 grams of heroin sounds like a fucking lot of heroin. 51 grams of fentanyl, which is just super strong heroin. So that sounds like a lot of that too. Like right around a Floyd dose. It's a joke. Oh my God. Why would you say that? 6 oxycodone pills and 120 grams of marijuana. Now, I have a little bit more understanding of 120 grams of marijuana because, again, Minnesota used to decriminalize marijuana. I think 44 and a half grams of marijuana is about 2 ounces. I think, if I remember right. So you're talking about 6 ounces of marijuana, a little bit less, but you're, a little bit less than a half pound of marijuana there that you got. Combined value of the drugs was $46,975. So there you go. Oh no, so 56 grams is 2 ounces. Thank you, chat, for fixing that for me. Thank you, chat. Again, I don't do math. So the driver, 35-year-old Victor Bird, and passenger, 31 Antonio Jones, both of Detroit, were incarcerated at the Wood County Justice Center and were later indicted in the Wood County Court of Common Pleas. Ohio State Highway Patrol said both Bird and Jones were indicted for trafficking and possession of heroin, trafficking and possession of a fentanyl-related compound, both of which are first-degree felonies. In addition, Jones was also indicted for aggravated possession of drugs. That's where you have possession of drugs, but you're like mad about it. I think. I'm not a lawyer. 5th-degree felony. According to Ohio State Highway Patrol, if convicted, Bird could face up to 44 years in prison and a fine of up to $80,000. And a fine up to $80,000 because, again, no one has an editor anymore. Jones could face up to 45 years in prison and a fine of up to $82,500. So, pretty heavy fines. Pretty heavy fines. And, the jail time's bad, too, I guess. I guess the jail time is bad. But, there you go. That's the moral of this story. And look, I'm a lawyer. I'm not your priest. I'm not going to tell you not to traffic drugs. That would be insane. What I am going to tell you to do is, if you're trafficking drugs and they pull you over for expired registration, do not consent to the search. Do not consent. Just like in public school, when your teacher says, come into my office, and you're like, that's a broom closet. Do not consent. Don't do it. Don't consent. Do not consent to the search. There is no help for you. It's not going to be better if you just comply. Nope. It's not a thing. Not a thing at all. It will be bad for you if you consent. It will be 44 and 45 years bad for you. Oh my God. And people do this, like, you can tell people this all day, but they always do it. Like, just watch cops. There's one of my favorite little encounters that I saw in cops. I was actually, while I was in law school, we watched this during our constitutional criminal procedure class. Again, talking about consensual searches and stuff like that. And the guy is standing outside talking to the cop. And the cop says, "I want to search your car." Guy's like, "All right." Cop's like, "Am I going to find anything in the car? Like, just tell me if I'm going to find anything in the car." "No, I don't think so, ma'am. It's clean." Like, "Are you sure?" "Yeah." "Do you want to know why I want to search your car?" "Sure, why?" And he just reaches up and grabs a joint that's sitting in the guy's ear, just sitting there behind his ear. And he's like, "This is why. That's why I'm going to search your car." Guy's like, "Shit." That was great. Don't consent to the search. Don't consent to the search. But people do it all the time. Like, you'll see endless videos of, like, there'll be women where the cops are like, "Now, ma'am, I would like to search your handbag. Is that okay?" It's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you have anything in here?" "No." "Meth." It's just right on top. Just meth. You knew the meth was in there. You knew it was there. Why would you say yes? Why would you say yes? Um, Gilbegger, don't they bring the dogs? Look, dogs add a different layer of the equation to the whole situation. There's a case right now going to the Supreme Court because a guy got traffic stopped and the cops brought a dog and the dog went up on its, like, they go up on their hind legs because the cops hold their fucking leashes tight. But it means the dog is indicating. So the dog indicated by going up on its hind legs and putting its paws on the guy's door. And that was, the cop said he indicated into the car that it detected some drug. They can't tell you what a dog detects. By the way, just want to be very clear. Dogs don't speak English. They don't speak English. I don't know if you guys know this, but it could be like a chili dog or whatever, like a ham sandwich. You've no idea. Well, they don't indicate. How do you know? Oh, because in training, they're not in training. They're in the field, and you still don't know. Well, no, they're highly trained to not indicate to anything else. How do you know? You can't talk to it. You're not Caesar, whatever the fucking dude is, the dog whisperer. He's pretending to. This is all bullshit. They can't tell you what they're indicating. They just smell something. Maybe. A lot of times they're actually responding to subtle cues from the guy who's controlling the dog. But that's a whole different story. Now, this guy's case actually hinges entirely on the dog putting its paws on the side of the vehicle. One of the courts said, "You know what? That's actually a trespass to the vehicle. You have to have that constitutes a search. You're invading on the property of the vehicle. A dog can rear up and indicate on its hind legs, but putting its paws on the vehicle is something different." So this guy's case might be thrown out because dog can't put its hands on the side of the vehicle. But yes, they can bring the dogs. It adds a whole different layer and new constitutional questions, which is great. But dogs also add a layer of bullshito if it was martial arts, because it's a fucking circus. It's a show. The dogs are a show. Now, you can say all this in court. It won't help you unless you have a lawyer properly argue it with a bunch of stats and check on the training of the dog, the history of the dog. Has it ever fucked up? And all that stuff. But But just know in your heart of hearts and in your balls of balls that drug dogs, the fucking agriculture dogs at the airports, all that stuff, the bomb dog, it's fake. It's fake. There you go. Double blind tests on canines do not produce great results. But that being said, yeah, they can bring them and they can still use it. Like courts don't care that they're fake because they get the bad guy. AV to the 7 Power says thoughts on Tupac. By the way, hey brother, hey AV, how you doing? Thoughts on Tupac? They're still pushing this narrative that Tupac's dead. They're still pushing this. Tupac's alive. He's been alive the whole time. They're just trying to throw us off the scent. That's all I know. Maybe he's on the island next to Epstein's and they're worried about the new buyer. I don't know what they're trying to throw us off the scent. I don't trust them at all. So, all right. But great to see you, AV. I know I've said this a million times, but we got to do a stream sometime. Here we go. Let's do the next story. I'm going to break up the Trump stuff with this. This is a beautiful one. This is how, I know this is how all of you out there will be treated in this situation. All right? Look, this is just a great demonstration of the calm even-handedness of the justice system based on factors that you cannot guess at all. All right? Drunk dental receptionist who groped schoolboy 13 and told him she wanted to, quote, ride him till morning before exposing herself and waking up remembering nothing after a white wine binge is spared jail. There you go. Jade Berry, 27, approached the boy and his friends at Riveacre Valley Country Park. A dental receptionist sexually assaulted a 13-year-old boy after she began chatting him up at a random following a white wine binge. Chatting him up at random following a white wine binge. Jade Berry, 27, was staggering through Riveacre Valley Country Park in Elmsmere Port, Cheshire. This is fucking the UK. At 9 p.m. when she accosted the child as he sat on a woodland bench, talking with a friend about his forthcoming 14th birthday. Barry sat between the two boys and began stroking the 13-year-old's genitals over his clothing before offering him sex and saying she would ride him till morning. As the shocked youngster and his friend got up to leave, I don't know if I believe they got up to leave. We were just getting up to leave. She pulled down her trousers and exposed herself before passing out in a drunken stupor. The two boys took videos of Barry before getting up to leave. Did they? They take some videos of that one? They took some videos of the de-trousered woman. She was identified after leaving her bank card and phone on the bench. This is her right here. So, there we go. I don't know what the fuck. These look like different people, but okay. Who lives in a village of Little Sutton near Elmsmere Port, pleaded guilty to sexual assault. This is her again. When interviewed by police, Barry exclaimed, "Oh my God, I do not recall anything," but was later picked out by the boy at an identity parade. At an identity parade? Okay, I think this is an English law enforcement thing called a lineup in the US. So sorry, my brain went the opposite direction. I'm like, an identity parade, like a pride march? What the fuck? No, I think they're talking about a lineup where they bring a bunch of chicks in. And if that 13-year-old boy has a spine. You know what he said? Look, I don't really recognize their faces. I'm going to need them to recreate the situation. Ladies, drop them. Oh my God. Here we go. The 13-year-old who has ADHD said he was so traumatized by the encounter that he tried to take his own life. Oh my God. That's actually sad. Really? Okay. At Chester Crown, but actually, you know what? That's an important point. That's an important point because look, I think it's kind of a funny story. But I brought this story for a particular reason and then I engaged in it. When it's a woman and an underage boy, the automatic assumption is that the boy's relatively okay with it. Because boys are little hornballs. So like, oh yeah. And then I did the same thing. I was like, I don't know. Is it that traumatizing? But these are actually really damaging things. Sexual trauma is real. It's not just limited to women. But we do that. We do that as a society, right? We limit sexual trauma to women and we dismiss it in men. But it's real. And it's crazy how fucking damaging and dangerous this shit is. And like, look, a lot of us can go, man, when I was 13, wish a hot dental assistant would come up and rub my dick. Like, because that's how guys tend to think. But you're not actually having that happen to you. Like, that's not actually occurring. And when it does, it's terrifying. It's traumatizing. The kid doesn't know what to do. What the fuck's he supposed to do? So anyways, I'm kind of surprised that it went that far, but you know, I don't know. I'm not that kid. No dental assistants rubbed my penis on a park bench in England. At Chester Crown Court, Barry, who lives in the village of Little Sutton, near Elmsmere Port, pleaded guilty to sexual assault and was sentenced to 12 months in jail, suspended for 18 months. So there you go. Not only does she avoid jail time entirely, even if she had to serve it, she's only getting 12 months. That's it. Can you imagine the genders being reversed? I was too drunk to remember fondling a child. Can you imagine that? You're like, well, you know, a year. A year? A year? And your excuse is, I'm sorry, I just drank all of the wine? No way. No way. First of all, no way does he get a stay of his sentence for fucking 18 months. There's basically, so she'll have 18 months of probation, I believe is how it's going to work. I'm not an English, whatever, but 18 months of probation. So as long as she doesn't fuck up again for 18 months, her jail sentence will be suspended. If she has a similar criminal activity under whatever their categorization is, she would then, during that 18-month period, it would be possible to force her to then serve the 12 months on top of whatever additional penalty she may get. So that's how that typically would work. Barry was also ordered to wear an electronic sobriety tag for 120 days, part of an alcohol abstinence monitoring program, and will have to complete 35 rehab activity days. So there you go, guys. She had to wear a sobriety tag for, 4 months, and an additional month of rehabilitation activity days. She does have to sign on the sex offenders register for 10 years, which, I mean, I guess. Barry had told the court she had mental health issues. What ones? What mental health issues did you have? Drinking, I guess? The incident occurred on October 3rd last year after Barry was making her way through the 300-acre nature reserve after a drinking session with friends. James Coots, prosecuting, said the victim was seated on a bench in Woodland when the defendant approached him. She was unknown to him and was clearly intoxicated. She sat between the two boys and began to touch and rub his genitals and the upper area of his thigh over his clothing whilst making highly inappropriate and sexualized comments. She said she was going to ride him till morning. They had, in fact, been talking previously about his upcoming 14th birthday, and it was quite clear to them she knew how old he was. Here you go, another Instagram filter of this chick. The boys almost immediately left, leaving her on the bench. She removed her clothing and exposed her genitals and buttocks before passing out. They did take a video of the scene. They did take a video of the scene. The victim went home and told us. Actually, these days, I'm surprised the kids didn't get charged for taking a video of this chick. The victim went home and told his mother, who contacted the police. The officers attended the scene and found her bank card and her phone. By the time the officers arrived, she had left the area, but she was arrested on October 5th. Her response to being arrested was, "Oh my God, I do not recall anything." She was asked questions in an interview. She answered no comment to all questions. An identity parade was arranged in which the victim was involved. He successfully identified the defendant as the one involved in the incident. Mr. Coots described the impact of the incident on the teenage victim. The victim described feeling low after the assault and described on an occasion where he tried to take his own life. He had night terrors about the incident afterwards and nightmares. He described taking medication, does not feel able to return to the park. He does not leave the house much. He is feeling scared, anxious, and generally feeling unsafe. He has received counseling from 2 separate sources to aid his recovery, but he has lost the confidence that he had. I'm not going to make the jokes, okay? Clearly, there are aggravating factors to this offense. There was the presence of alcohol and the inebriation of the defendant and the victim. Wait. They wrote this sentence wrong. They wrote it, there was the presence of alcohol and the inebriation of the defendant and the victim was particularly vulnerable due to his age difficulties, after defendant, after defendant. Okay? There was the presence of alcohol and the inebriation of the defendant, and the victim was particularly vulnerable due to his age and difficulties. Are they talking ADHD was his difficulties? Like, because that's all they've mentioned. Is there some other thing going on? Is there some other factor? I mean, they may not talk about it because he's underage, but they did mention his ADHD, so that's a little weird. Barry had one previous conviction for drink driving from 2021. Remember that editor thing? Drink driving from 2021. So another Instagram filter or whatever. Her counsel, John Wynne Williams, says she has sadly suffered from mental health problems since the age of 15 or 16, and COVID was a particularly difficult time for her. She has a self-destructive nature. She belongs to the streets. And because of this nature, she has turned to alcohol to deal with his issues. Her? But she now realizes that is not the answer to her problems. The separation of her parents is another factor that has caused her mental anguish. So now you know, guys, if you have separated parents, you just walk around groping teenagers, apparently, because it's led to lots of mental anguish. And it is really rare, actually. It's very strange, very rare in these enlightened days to have, adult children of separated parents. I mean, she's just 27. She's just 27 years old, and her parents separated. Her memory of this unfortunate incident is fairly scant, but she did not want that young boy to have to give evidence in a trial. Oh, how fucking benevolent of her, right? Really, though, I'm going to plead guilty and talk about all of my mental anguish and all of the factors why I'm not actually bad. because I really just want to protect that poor boy from having to testify. Man, I don't want to put him through that. Her psychiatrist identifies anxiety disorder, panic attacks, and borderline personality as mental health issues. Don't just say she's a 27-year-old woman. Don't say it. You don't have to say that. You don't just have to say so, a 27-year-old woman. You don't have to say that. Why would you don't? Okay, I'm not going to say it. And because of those problems, she has been drinking too much. Oh, that's why. It's because of those problems why she was out with her friends drinking all of the wine. Yeah, me too. That's it. Look, guys, I've got anxiety, a couple panic attacks, and borderline personality disorder. I mean, according to some, that's just the start. That's why. That's why. It seems that her alcohol intoxication may have led her into doing and committing this offense. There's genuine heartfelt remorse, and she shows the victim empathy. Let me let you in on a secret, guys. Alcohol doesn't make you do shit. The liquor is not the cause. You're the cause. The liquor just prevents you from stopping yourself. The liquor made me do it. The liquor didn't make you do shit, brother, sister, mom, dad, whatever it is. The liquor didn't make you do it. Liquor made me beat that guy. Liquor made me punch that. Liquor made me. No, it didn't. It didn't do that. You know why? There's a bunch of people who drink liquor and it doesn't make them do what it made you do. That doesn't make sense. It's not like the liquor has its own language with you. I fucking hate these, the attorneys. Like, I know why they do it, but listen to how this is going. And the judge in the court, like, this satisfies our requirements for staying the execution of her sentence. Why, though? Well, the liquor made her touch that underage child. Oh, yeah, sure. Yep. Anytime. People just all around. I wouldn't have done it, but sorry, I drank white wine. That Moscato is really fucking dangerous. Especially when you have a box of it. Guys, she showed the victim empathy, though. So here's a no filter picture of her. Pretty critical. Like, this is what she looks like without Instagram working on her, I guess. It's the best way to say that. Sentencing Judge Eric Lamb said, as it was a chance meeting, you were not aware of the vulnerability of your victim, but the consequence of what you did have been awful for the complainant and his family. Oh, well, you didn't know that child was vulnerable. Therefore, it's not as bad. Motherfucker. This is why hate crimes are bullshit. This is why any sort of vulnerability enhancement, any of that, I hate this shit. It doesn't matter that she didn't know that the victim was vulnerable. By the way, it's a 13-year-old. That victim just is vulnerable. There's no way around that. But she didn't know he was particularly vulnerable. So fucking what? Like, it's not less bad because she didn't know. Murdering someone because you hate their race is not less bad than murdering someone whose race you like. And it's the weirdest shit that we put these fucking qualifiers on crime. Well, we don't like that you punched the guy, but we really don't like that you punched him because he was black. Wait, why is that worse than punching some? Like, the punch is the problem, not the, like, the anger behind it. Like, well, if you just punched him because he was an asshole or because you're an asshole, that's fine. But if you're a racist asshole, then it's different. It's not different. It's the same fucking thing. Ugh. He's trying to take his own life, suffered night terrors, and required counseling in an effort to overcome the impact of that which you have done. But you didn't know that was going to happen, so it's fine. You have no recollection of what you did. She remembers as a result of the amount of alcohol that you had taken. But the commission of an offense when drinking is an aggravating feature. It's an aggravating feature. The reasons for your taking alcohol are many and complex. No, they aren't. They are not. They're not many and complex. Judge. This hoe went out with her friends drinking. It's not that fucking difficult. Well, I went out with my friends because I have borderline personality disorder and anxiety, and that's why I drank a whole box of wine while out with my friends partying at night. No, you just went out with your friends and drank a shitload of liquor. Like, why? Oh, God damn it. And although I must have regard to whether or not you present a risk of serious harm to members of the public by the commission of further specific offenses, in your case, the conclusion is that such a risk is low. Why? I accept that there is genuine and heartfelt remorse. Why? And again, I'm going to bitch a little bit more. Remorse should not, and I say constitutionally cannot be a factor in your criminal sentencing. I hate this shit. Judges do this shit all the time. They determine who's sorry. If you're maintaining your innocence, you can't be sorry for what you did, right? Like, I didn't shoot the guy. We're going to prove that you did, but I didn't. They find you guilty of shooting the guy. Well, here you go. I didn't shoot the guy. Well, you're not sorry for shooting the guy. I didn't shoot him. No remorse. If I'm sorry for shooting him, I'm admitting to it. So I can't. It doesn't make any fucking sense. This remorse shit has to stop. It has to stop. The remorse is irrelevant to the commission of the crime. And most importantly, crime and punishment is all about the mental state at the time of the commission of the crime. If Hitler felt bad, it wouldn't have been better. Well, looking back, they do make good movies. They do make good movies. I kind of feel bad not so many good, like, that's not a thing. I fucking hate so many parts of this system. How is that constitutional? How is justice blind when it's actively considering remorse? Now, there are factors. There are absolutely factors that can be used to reduce or aggravate a sentence. An impairment that is not voluntary could be a factor. Like, well, you know, you have some sort of mental thing that prevents you from understanding right and wrong in some situations. Maybe it had an impact here. I don't know. Maybe that's a factor, right? Being really young, we give that factor, like being a juvenile at all is a factor in crime. We go under 18, you have a completely different court system with completely different rules and punishments. Cool. Okay, great. We use age as a factor because we use a baseline of 18 for mental maturity because nobody's ever talked to an 18-year-old in their fucking life, apparently. But that being said, we do that. We do that thing. All right. All of this stuff, there are things that make sense about it. Maybe you're under some sort of duress or whatever. Fine. The alcohol and that she has anxiety and borderline personality, great. They're just justifying the Xanax prescription. So she can calm the fuck down and drink an entire box of wine. Like, that's what they're doing. By the way, while she was imbibing all of the wine in the fucking state, Judge, was she on her anxiety meds? Not sure if you know this, but anxiety meds plus liquor is bad. It's all over all of them that you cannot do it. Don't do it. And if you want to see why, there are various examples around the internet of people who are drinking liquor while on anxiety meds. I'm not going to name names, but I'm just saying people know that they're out there. Not a great combo. Was she on her meds? I think that's a critical fucking question. It kind of seems like someone with social anxiety, borderline personality, might be on her anxiety meds while going out with friends into a social scenario and chugging down wine. Guess he didn't want to get into that. Fucking unreal. And again, just because someone does these things doesn't mean they're going to commit a crime. But of course, the courts are like, we're going to talk in just a little bit. I was on Nina's show and we talked a little bit about this new accuser of Harvey Weinstein. And I brought up, look, Harvey Weinstein seems like a piece of shit. Like, I don't care about him at all. But I brought up the fact that when you listen to any woman who talks about Harvey Weinstein, any of them, and their story about how abusive he was, you go, well, how fucking dumb is she? All of those stories require you to treat this grown, successful model, writer, director, actress, whoever they are, as if they're a goddamn child who's never done anything outside of their home their entire lives, right? Like, they all have to be fucking stupid for you to accept their story. It doesn't mean Harvey Weinstein isn't bad, but the courts act the same way all the time. Like, well, I mean, she had these struggles. Oh, struggling real hard. Yeah, she had these struggles, and so she just had to drink all of the liquor. Well, wait a minute. There's plenty of people with anxiety and borderline personality who don't chug down bottles of wine. Like, that's not a thing. I don't know if you guys know, that's not a symptom. I don't want to check the DSM because I might be wrong, but if you check the DSM, I'm pretty sure chugging down fucking Pinot Grigios isn't under the listing for any of the syndromes she has. Well, she had some mental issues. That's why she's drinking all the alcohol. No, she's drinking all the alcohol because she's out with her friends. You know how I know? You know how I know that some people go out with friends and drink alcohol? It's because I do. And I've met plenty of people who go out and drink with their friends. And some of them have mental disorders and some of them don't. It's weird. It's like it crosses all barriers. Some people just like to go out and drink with their friends. But you know the number of people I know that stumble through a fucking public park after drinking all the wine and touching underage people? Zero. Zero people I know do that. No matter how many mental disorders they have or don't have, or how much liquor they drink. It's fucking wild. It's wild. Here we go. Let's see. On the one hand, if the judge, this is a sexual assault on a young person by someone who is 27 years of age, and it is a plainly serious matter. On the one hand, that's literally the only fucking hand. That's the only hand. What are you talking about on the one hand? What's the other hand? But on the other side, there is strong personal mitigation as a result of genuine remorse. What did this cunt do to mitigate anything? What mitigation? What did she do to mitigate the damage to this child? I'm waiting, Judge. She sent him a little card, like a. Wait, did she take a frame out of his video of her vagina, sign it, right? XOXO, can't wait till you're 18 for his 14th birthday? Did she do that? Like, what fucking mitigation was there? How did she mitigate? There's significant mitigation on her side. Mitigate what? Her guilt. That's what she mitigated. Make no mistake. And this is how the fucking courts do this. And I hate this because, look, I'm a criminal defense attorney at heart and at balls. I hate the government. I hate prosecutors. I hate the system. And I want everyone to get full due process in everything. I presume innocence until I find conclusive evidence of guilt by a jury, or if I'm talking to a client and they tell me enough about the scenario, then I say, you cannot, like, you, first of all, if they start talking to me about whatever, you have to say, stop. I'm here to defend you. I need to know these things and you need to tell me these things, but your assessment of your actions is not a court. But if you start telling me you're guilty, now I have an ethical issue. So don't tell me if you're guilty or innocent because you don't know. You're not a fucking lawyer. So back off. Tell me about these factors and we'll determine what we do from there. But if they do tell you they're guilty, because some people come, they're like, look, I did it. Like, I am guilty. I want to plea out. And you're like, oh, okay, fine. But unless I get that or a court judgment, I'm not, you're not guilty. You're not guilty. You may have done everything involved, but you're not guilty. That's my default perspective, okay? But once you're found guilty, you're guilty. What is the mitigating factor for the victim? All of the mitigation. This is true. Make no mistake. No criminal defendant on earth, I don't give a fuck what they say or how they lie or whatever. They want to mitigate their guilt, not mitigate their impact. They may want to also mitigate their impact, but they really want to mitigate their guilt. And those are two separate things, because one is a specific list of requirements that you show to the court to say, I deserve less of a punishment. The other is a set of things you do that somehow mitigates the impact to the victim. Now, if you've stolen something, returning the item or turning over value sufficient to cover the cost of the item, something like that. Apologies. Not a huge mitigation, but literally a mitigation. I'm really sorry. I fucked up and it impacted you. I'm sorry. Now, we're not talking about murder and rape and weird shit like that for apologies. We're talking different crimes obviously have different mitigating impacts. For some victims, there is no mitigation. You can't mitigate a murder. You can't murder someone less. But guess what? Murderers get mitigating factors all the time on their sentences. Why? They're less dead now, I guess. Doesn't make sense. We've got a fucking twisted up system. But that's just going back to the point. It's just going back to the point. Mitigation is about the defendant, never the victim, in court. There are things you can do to mitigate somewhat of a victim after. And depending on the crime, mitigation really, really becomes damn near fucking impossible. But hey, that's that. Those things don't matter in court. What matters in court is the list. And the list is usually defined by case law. And you can look it up and find all the things that you should do, should say, should write letters for, should get people to write letters about you for. All of that stuff can be found in every criminal or in every jurisdiction. There is. You just have to find what the list is for that jurisdiction. I really don't like, again, as someone whose default is defend the person no matter what they've done until guilt is sufficiently proven after due process is observed, I hate this idea of mitigation because you can't mitigate the impact anyway. So, genuine remorse and the series of events that have led you to your mental health difficulties, you now realize that you must alter your ways. Remember that passive voice shit I was talking about? The series of events that have led you to your mental health difficulties, you now realize that you must alter your ways. Oh, remember she got that DUI conviction in 2021? I guess she didn't learn then about, the impact of the series of events that led her to her drinking then. But I bet she said the same thing. I bet she said the same fucking thing at that trial. Well, I just didn't, it's just my parents split up, borderline personality. And the next time, guess what? The next time, after she gets hammered again and starts punting dogs into a fucking meat grinder or river or whatever, which is kind of funny. She's like gonna punt puppies. She'll be like, I don't remember that. This time it was a Pinot Noir. And man, was it huge. Just gonna be like, you now understand that you can't punt puppies into the river. I'm so glad you've come to this mature realization about yourself. Jesus fucking Christ. Can we stop this shit? The moral of the story is, if you're a 27-year-old moderately attractive woman who gropes a 13-year-old while drunk in England, you're going to get apparently no jail time. None. Zero. She will spend 0 days in jail, guys. 0 days. 0 days in jail. If you're a 27-year-old man in England who drops a couple pints and walks through a park and gropes an underage boy or girl, do you think you get 0 days in jail? What if you have borderline personality, though? Then you're going to get, right? Like, you'll get 0 days then. Right? Like, that's going to happen. I believe that story. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. And let me be clear. I do not want a 27-year-old man who drinks liquor and goes to a park and gropes an underage child to get this treatment. I want this bitch to get the worst treatment. Well, I was blackout drunk, so sorry. Like, I don't remember liking it. What is the excuse? What is it? Oh, you don't remember liking touching the child? Is that it? Well, I mean, if she didn't enjoy it because she was too drunk, I guess it's not that bad. What the fuck? Guys, ladies, if you're going to drink, don't touch children or drive. Don't do that. Either of those things, both bad. Both bad. And if you have mental issues and disorders that make you want to drink, don't touch children and don't drive. It's not that hard of a fucking rule, and it doesn't change just because you have a weird psychiatrist who's going to tell you that you have a problem. The problem might be that you're 27 and life is fucking stressful. It's not always easy. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough appreciation. You're not advancing fast enough. You're worried about your retirement. The economy is shit. You can't afford a car. You can't afford a house. You can't afford anything that your previous generation did. Maybe that's the mental disorder that you have. Like, well, it sounds kind of like borderline personality. Or it's just, fuck, things are difficult because I'm 27. and I'm not old enough to make good money, and I'm not young enough to not care. Like maybe that's the mental disorder you have. It's called that transition from getting to fuck around and having to find out. Everybody goes through it. But I'll humbly suggest that not all you bitches have mental disorders either. Life is just sometimes fucking hard. And all the people around you know it too. You don't always find your solution in a pill bottle. It's not always there. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But my God, regardless of what your solution is, pill bottle or not, do not chug down wine or anything else and go touch kids. In fact, don't touch kids if you're sober or drunk. And don't drive drunk. This lady is a good example of both of those, except she's not, because she has effectively zero punishment for the fucking crime. And it's crazy. All right. So that's that one. What's next? I'll tell you what is next. What is next is actually a word from this show's sponsor, CozyEarth.com. Guys, Cozy Earth has all sorts of fabric goods for your house, for your life, particularly Cozy Earth bed sheets for all bed shapes, all bed sizes, even funny ones. Actually, I don't know that that's true. Probably standard bed shapes and sizes, but they do have bed sheets for you, and they are phenomenal. They keep you cool. They're moisture wicking. They're nice, soft, delicate, beautiful material that feels good on your balls or your buttocks. Or if you're a drunk 27-year-old Englander, you can just go ahead and pretend that you're touching all the minors you want while you snuggle your bed sheets rather than fucking touching minors. Just grab yourself some Cozy Earth sheets and feel the supple goodness on your skin. Keep yourself cool and comfortable with some of the nicest sheets I have ever felt. Now, go there, use promo code LAW to get yourself a little bit of a discount on these sheets. They're very nice. They have other products too. They have robes, they have towels, they have lots of shit made out of fabrics. Go check them out, CozyEarth.com. Promo code LAW. Get yourself some good comfort in your life from a good company that makes great products. And again, this is one that I can simply say, I have tried the sheets. I can vouch that as an owner of nice, moisture wicking, cooling sheets, these are better than any sheets I've ever had. And they're not as expensive as some of those sheets. So that being said, they're a nice product. They cost a little bit. No bones about it. They're not cheap, but they are great. And they're not as expensive as lesser quality products that purport to be the same thing. So check them out on your own, Cozy Earth. But again, if you don't want to buy a whole bunch of expensive bed sheets, they have other products that are also probably pretty good. I just can't vouch for those specifically because I haven't tried them out. I've tried out the sheets. They're phenomenal. CozyEarth.com, promo code LAW. Get yourself a discount. Go check them out. Thank you to Cozy Earth for sponsoring the show. With that, we're going to finish up the chats on YouTube, and we're going to pop over to Rumble for the rest of the stream, and it'll be great. What's the thread count on those sheets? Well, I don't actually know. I guess I can tell you in just a moment. Here we go. Here we go. They're made with viscose from bamboo. Do they have product details? Those aren't detailed. Damn it. I don't know what the thread count is. I'll have to check mine and see if I have any like details on the specific ones. What do we got? Oh, do you have a high thread count? The short answer is yes, but we're going to let you in on a little secret, is what they say. The notion that thread count is always an accurate measurement of softness, strength, and quality is totally inadequate. Any fabric maker can tell you that developing premium quality fabrics requires years of research and development to find the right recipe for fiber, yarn, weave, technology, consistency, and quality control. That attention to detail is what Cozy Earth prides itself on and is known for. We've literally spent years fine-tuning our fabrics so they wow you from the moment you open your delivery to every night after. That is a non-answer. Doesn't tell you shit about thread counts. I don't know what they are. Again, I'll go check mine. They didn't send me a lot of packaging, so I don't know if they have any. But I'll say this. I have 600 thread count sheets, the bamboo sheets or whatever, and these are softer. I don't know that that means they have a higher than 600 thread count, but they're softer than the ones I have. So that's what I can say about it. But I'll check and see if I can get that for you, but not right now. Fuck that. We got a Rumble show to do. Okay. Next, it says, done with the swingers meetup. Yes. Was there a swingers meetup? I didn't get the email. You got one? You're on the list? Not a banned account says, how close are we to selling off Trump's properties? That's a really fucking good question. The Trump organization is going to be dissolved currently. Of course, that all depends on appeal and everything else. Going to be dissolved in New York and not allowed to do business or own property, but it really depends on what the actual ownership is, if it can be transferred to someone else. Transferring it to someone else may require a transfer of fair market value to Trump, or from the Trump organization, or no, to the Trump organization, which could then be confiscated by the court, which has currently imposed a $250 million fine on the Trump organization. But all of this is still subject to appeal. All of it is. So we'll see. Cars in Depth says, for how much will Trevor Bauer sue Major League Baseball? I don't think Trevor Bauer is going to be able to sue Major League Baseball. The big problem with Trevor Bauer is he does not have a judgment. He has a settlement. His judge, if he had a judgment that said a finding that he did not do the things and the defamation, may be able to sue for reinstatement. Probably not anyway. But the problem is he's got a settlement, and MLB allegedly interviewed other women who had allegedly similar stories. And they said, nah. He already went to arbitration on the issue. He got a favorable arbitration ruling, although it wasn't perfect. But then his team dropped him. And now he's not been able to get a job with an MLB team. So now he plays in Japan. It sucks. But if he's got other quote unquote allegations from other women, MLB has no reason to say, yeah, well, I mean, he beat this one, but he didn't address the others. They're not required to have him play. Let's see. We've got Adrian Robledo says, Camelot's Mexican editor, let me make you money nose. Yes, I'm getting to you. I just haven't had time to look at your thing. I will. Polyfrog64 says, Nick, can we get a toast to Alora Patoin? She's the wife of Jean-Francois Garipe. She's been missing for 4 months. RMCP, the Royal Mounted Canadian Police, is investigated at JF. Some of you may be familiar with JF Garipe. I am not super familiar with him outside of memes. That being said, I don't know if any of this is true, but if it is, someone said his wife was deceased or something. This must be along with that. I don't know what the actual stuff is, but that relationship was already sus. To JF's wife, may she find health, comfort, and safety wherever she may be. If she is unfortunately deceased, may she rest in peace. That being said, I know nothing else about that situation, but if justice need be served, may be served swiftly and judiciously. Grifty says, check Twitter DMs off stream. Need advice? Will do. Kate of the Swiss says, did you manage to figure out super thankses? Yet you anti-aerodynamic nasal SOB. I haven't had time between the streams to do that. They used to be on. If they're not on now, it's weird, but I don't know. Solon Lich says, search me harder, daddy. Ooh woo. GM Steelhaven says, you should be chief of legal outrage. In serious, hate crimes are major bullshit, though. Of course they are. You saying a racial slur during a crime doesn't make that crime more bad. Or less, or not saying it, make it less bad. If you're beating someone, it's bad to beat someone. Unless you're justified, obviously, right? Contrarian 420 says, this remorse shit has to stop. Good Ricada t-shirt. There you go. Nick Ricada's receding hairline says 13. That's 3 years too young. Matt Gates. God damn it. And finally, the squid says, how can you tell a mechanic has a girlfriend when he has 2 clean fingers? And with that, we are going to pop over to Rumble. After the transition, pronouns, please. I am going to take a step away, go to the bathroom, be right back. I'll play the P stream song on Rumble as people filter in. It's a good time as people move from YouTube to Rumble to do that. And also, I have to go to the bathroom because I drink energy drinks. And that's what they fucking do. When we get back, we will get into the rest of the show, which has Trump civil case and then another what the fuck case leading into What the Fuck Wednesday after that. So we'll see you there, I hope. If not, we will see you tomorrow. Same breaded time, same breaded channel, except hopefully less late. And of course, also on Friday. Catch you guys next time. Peace. Peace.